Greetings, happy people. I'd like to once again thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join me on Affinity 10. My name is Nick with TDG. In this workshop video, we're going to explore creating numbered raffle tickets for an event. In a previous workshop video, I demonstrated how we could take advantage of the data merge feature available to us in Affinity to quickly generate several business cards at once, and then we'll be using those same practices to quickly number the tickets for our event. I won't bore you with the art setup of the ticket itself. Instead, we'll jump straight into it so you can begin creating numbered tickets for your events. Taking a look at our file, I'm currently on master page A, in which case I have 8 instances of the ticket on a 13-inch by 19-inch document, which means that this document is 8 up. Anytime you hear a print production place or designer reference 2 up, 3 up, 4 up, and so on, they are referencing the number of times a particular design, in this case the ticket, is appearing on a single spread. In this case, this ticket file is 8 up. Taking a look at some of the assets we'll be using in this demonstration, I have the PDF of the artwork of the ticket already created. Is 6 inches by 2 inches with full bleed and a crop. And I have 2 Excel files, one for an 8 up and one for a 10 up. The number on the end is just simply a reminder for me how many tickets will be generated with each particular file. Taking a look at the Excel file itself, I have row 1 with the headers of column 1, column 2, column 3, and so on. And then we have 8 columns going across since our file is 8 up. This brings me to my Toby tip, and Toby would like to remind us that the first important decision you have to make is how many instances of your ticket are you printing on a single sheet. That's going to determine how many columns you have in your Excel data merge file. In our case, we have 8 tickets, so our Excel file is also going to be 8 columns. Let me go ahead and close out of this. And to quickly demonstrate setting this up for you, if you've never inserted a PDF into Affinity before, I'm going to create a new master page. I'm going to say OK. Then I'm going to go to File, Place, and pick our raffle ticket artwork. When placing this in our document, if this is your first time placing a PDF, you may be wondering where the bleed is and where the crop marks are. And by default, when Affinity is inserting a PDF, it's going to go to the artwork size of your file. So if we look up here in the properties, if this was a multi-page PDF, we would have all the pages listed here underneath the spread. You'll see for the page box is set to the trim box. That means the cut size of the file, which is 6 inches by 2 inches. I want to change this to be crop box so that our crop marks show. Now, if you are printing this at home and you're not doing a full bleed file for simpler cutting, you may want to do it as a default that it has there, especially if you have it spaced perfectly where you know where you're going to be making all of your cuts at. Once you have your first instance on the page, you can quickly duplicate that by holding down Shift and Alt and dragging over your design and then duplicating that several times more based on the number of instances you're going to have on your particular spread. And then what I like to do after I have all the instances in place is I like to highlight them all and then group them together with Command or Control G. And coming up here to our align those vertically and horizontally to our layout. I'll go ahead and delete these and also delete this master page since we don't need it for these purposes. And taking a look back at our file, we're now ready to begin numbering our tickets. What I have already done is I have created the paragraph style for our tickets, which is nothing more than declaring the font size, and the spacing being centered. I'll then go ahead and zoom into our artwork here and pan our page here a little bit. And I have a gray box placeholder here that won't actually print, and I'll show you how I'll update that in a second, but this will help me with placing the text inside of the white part of this design. I'll get our text frame tool, drag out our text frame, and I'll type in our ticket number. And anytime I'm doing a data merge and I'm placing essentially my placeholder text, I like to do it as accurately as I possible to the actual file. So if it's a business card, I'll put in a name, an address, I'll put in an address, just for spacing purposes and to make sure everything's going to line up okay. I actually typically do that before I ever get to this point, so I'll do it in the ticket file itself to make sure it's going to work. In our text frame, you'll notice my text is already centered to the vertical center. and yours may not do that. To change that, you'll come up here with your frame selected. Come up here, you'll notice we have the vertical alignment options for our text frame. Top is the default. In this case, I want to go ahead and change that to be centered. And you can do that by clicking on these, and it'll jump back and forth between them. Or you can click on the drop down arrow and select center vertically. And it helps if I pick it. There we go. And now we're ready to begin placing our numbers. So I'm going to take our first number here, and I'm going to grab our rotate handle here and rotate it, and holding the shift key, lock it into 180 degrees. And now I'll go ahead and resize this to be about the size of our gray box that's serving as the holder for the text. So I'll go ahead and line these up. And there's our first number. And I do want to mention over here in my layers panel that I went on ahead and locked my group tickets. That just ensures when I'm copying this number several times over, I don't accidentally grab a ticket and I don't realize it and I move it out of position and I got to go back and replace it later. So it's just easier to lock all those into place from the start. I'll now click on this frame, holding down Shift and Alt, quickly drag over to the white area, and I'll use my arrow keys to line that up. And now I'll drag across and select both of these, copy and paste. I'm just doing Command and Control C, Command and Control V, and drag these over for our next ticket. Now the way I have our number tickets set up is column 1 would go here, column 2 would go over here, and so forth. And that means whenever these are taken somewhere to cut, when they cut this column out and they cut this column out, they can then stack these two on top of each other, and the tickets will be in perfect numerical order for them. Now let me go ahead and line up this text box here. And now we'll quickly go through, and I'm going to highlight all of these once again. Do a Command and Control V, and we'll drag these down into position. And I'm just going to keep doing that several times over until all of our tickets have the numbers in place. And now we have all the numbering on all 8 tickets. So taking a look at this, everything's looking pretty good. And I'm now ready to remove this gray box from the design. And anytime I'm doing numbered tickets, or really any design that's multiple up, I keep one main file, in this case the ticket design, so that way if the artwork changes next year or they do the same event and I'm changing the date or the time or any other details on the ticket, I just have to update that artwork, and then it'll update on the 8up document also. So what do I mean by that? If I jump over here to the raffle ticket design, here's the gray box. I want to go ahead and delete this now because I no longer need it. I'm going to save this file. I'm going to go to File, Export. I'm going to come down here to our PDF settings. I want to make sure this is press ready. And scrolling down, do our options here just to double check everything. I want to make sure bleed is turned on, which it is. And I also want to make sure the crop marks are on here. So I'm going to turn on the marks, leave crop marks turned on, but turn off all these other ones since I don't really need them. I want to make sure all my fonts are set as curves. That just avoids any font issues we may have. And I do want to have the preview and export turned on as well, so I can just take a quick look at the ticket to make sure it's right. I'll then say export, and I'm going to overwrite the ticket that I already have placed inside of our 8up file. So I'll do save, go ahead and replace it. And here's the ticket. Everything's looking good. Crop marks, bleed is accounted for. I can go ahead and close out of this. And you may have noticed it happened so quickly that it says we had a resource changed in our file. So I'm going to go ahead and just save this ticket again since it was exported. And we can close out of that. And over here in this file is where our artwork has changed because our document still shows the gray background. So how do we update that? Well, to update that, I'm going to go underneath our document and choose Resource Manager. For Resource Manager, I'm going to click on our ticket here, and you'll see the option for Update. If you click on Update, I wanted to show you this because if you click on one, it's only going to update really one instance of the ticket, and you're going to see the status has changed as mixed. That's very confusing. It can be frustrating if you're not used to how this works inside of Affinity. So instead, what I like to do, because if I toggle this down, you'll see it updated one instance, but it didn't update all the other ones. So with this selected, which is our main file, I'm going to choose Replace, pick our new file, say Open, and now you'll notice they all updated correctly. Now we can close out of this, and our file is ready to go. We're now ready to begin bringing in our data merge information. So to do that, we're going to go underneath Window, Layout, and Data Merge. And we bring the data merge over here on our screen. And now we have to add our file. So I'm going to click on Add File. We are doing the 8up file. Now I'm going to click Open. And now it's going to show you how many records we have showcasing here. And just like in my previous video, which you can go back where I show all these, you can go over all these individually and take a look at them. But what I would like to do is go ahead and start adding in some information. So on ticket 1 here, I'm going to double click on that. I want to insert field, column 1, and do the same thing here for insert field, column 1. And once again, as I'm going through here and inserting these, I'm keeping in mind how these are going to be cut. So this will be column 3 here. And just kind of working through these. And still here with you, just not going to talk through each and every single one, as I'm sure that can get annoying. Okay, so now we have all 8 tickets numbered. And before you generate your file, one thing you want to keep in mind is you want to just go through and double check to make sure you didn't accidentally put column 1 and then column 2 on the same ticket, as obviously that can throw stuff off and make everybody confused. You want to make sure you take the time, just make sure everything matches up accordingly and everything looks correct. So going through here, everything looks fine. And now what I like to do is just save this file. Let's go ahead and click File Save. So then if I was to once again, produce these next year, I can just open up this file. The data merge information is already in there. We would just update our data merge Excel file if needed, and then also update the artwork. But our text for our numbering tickets are already in place. So you don't have to go through and do all that again. Now, naturally, if the ticket format changes, the size changes, and you go from 8 up to 10 up or something like that, then you basically have to go through and redo everything. But if the ticket stays the same, then you just save yourself a lot of setup in the coming years. So now with all this created, we can now click on Generate. Well, let me take one step back here. Let me go ahead and add the master page to page 1. There we go. And now I can click on Generate. And once again, just say yes. And it's going to go through. And now we have all the numbering of our tickets. So here's ticket 1. Going down to page 2, we should have ticket 2. Going down to page 3, ticket 3, and so on. You'll see all these other numbers appearing on the tickets. So that quickly and easily you can generate numbered tickets for your event. Now the last step you would have to do, of course, is do File Save. And anytime you're creating a data merge file, you'll notice it popped up a new file window. So you can just save this file as ticket merged or whatever you want to call it. Maybe put the year on it. Click Save. And then you want to go up and, of course, export this. We do a File, Export, export. I'm going to go and click on ignore and continue. And now we have the format you want to export it as. Now, if you're taking this off to a local print center or print shop, you want to make sure you check with them because the odds are they're not going to want the crop marks on this 13-inch by 19-inch document. They're just going to want the page size itself. And first and foremost, I guess you just take a step back and make sure your local print shop would accept something like this from you because they may not. They may prefer to do it inside their own shop and do the data merge on their own end. But if you have a shop that's willing to do it for you and can handle cutting these up for you, you can do it that way. Or, of course, if you're printing your tickets on a home printer on maybe an 8.5-inch by 11-inch paper, then you can just print them out there. They're going to be sequentially in order, and you're good to go for your event. So once again, I'd like to thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join me on Affinity 10. I hope you got some useful information out of this. If you did, please give a like to the video. Please subscribe. Helps keep a designer motivated to provide you with information. And once again, I'll see you next time on our next edition of Affinity 10. Have a great day.